ॐ शुक्लाम्भरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। अगजानन पद्मार्कं गजाननमहर्निशम् अनेकदन्तं भक्तानामेकदन्तमुपास्महे। श्रीमहागणपतये नमः। गुरवे सर्वलोकानां विषजे भवरोगिणां निधये सर्वविद्यानां श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। अस्मद्गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। ज्ञानानन्दमयं देवं निर्मलस्फटिकाकृतिम् आधारं सर्वविद्यानां श्रीहयग्रीवमुपास्महे। श्रीहयग्रीवमूर्तये नमः। सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणि विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा। श्रीमहासरस्वत्यै नमः। उमाकोमलहस्ताब्ज सम्भावितललाटकं हिरण्यकुण्डलं वन्दे कुमारं पुष्करस्रजं। வெற்றிவேல் முருகனுக்கு ஹரஹரோஹரா. லோகவீரியம் மகாபூஜ்யம் சர்வரக்ஷாகரம் விபும் பார்வதி ஹிருதயானந்தம் சாஸ்தாரம் பிரணமாம்யகம். சுவாமியே சரணமையப்பா. வாகர்த்தாவிவ சம்பிருக்தௌ வாகர்த்த பிரதிபத்தயே ஜகதः பிதரௌ வந்தே பார்வதி பரமேஸ்வரௌ. ஸ்ரீ பார்வதி பரமேஸ்வராभ्यां நமः. कोमलं कूजयन् वेणुं श्यामलोऽयं कुमारकः वेदवेद्यं परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। अस्मद्गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। पीताम्बरं करविराजितचक्रशङ्खकौमोदकी सरसिजं करुणासमुद्रं राधासहायम् अतिसुन्दरमन्दहासं वातालयेशम् अनिशं हृदि भावयामि। कृष्णो रक्षतु मां चराचरगुरुः कृष्णं नमस्ये सदा। कृष्णेनैव सुरक्षितोऽहमसकृत् कृष्णाय दत्तं हनः। कृष्णादेव समुद्भवो मम विभो कृष्णस्य दासोऽस्म्यहं। कृष्णे भक्तिरचञ्चलास्तु भगवन् हे कृष्ण तुभ्यं नमः। श्रीगुरुवायूरप्पा शरणं नम्राणां सन्निधत्ते सततमपि पुरस्तैरणभ्यर्थितानपि अर्थान् कामानजस्रं वितरति परमानन्दसान्द्रां गतिं च। इत्थं निःशेषलभ्यो निरवधिकफलः पारिजातो हरे त्वं क्षुद्रं तं शक्रवाटी द्रुममभिलषति व्यर्थमर्त्यव्रजोऽयं। श्रीगुरुवायूरप्पा शरणं श्रीभट्टपादम् अनिशं हृदि भावयामि। वंशीविभूषितकरात् नवनीरदाभात् पीताम्बरात् अरुणबिम्बफलादरोष्टात् पूर्णेन्दुसुन्दरमुखात् अरविन्दनेत्रात् कृष्णात् परं किमपि तत्त्वमहं न जाने। കൈരണ്ടും കൂപ്പി ഞാൻ വീണ്ടുമീറക്കുന്നു നീരജലോചന നിന്നോടായി. എതീനു മഞ്ഞനെ കുമ്പിടേണ്ടാത്തോരു രീതിയിൽ നീ എന്നെ പാലിക്കെന്നായി. കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ. Good morning, everyone. Okay, and you want to do the 95? You can do the first 9 stanzas and then we'll start.
So 95.
Yeah.
आदो हैरण्यगर्भीं तनुमविकलजीवात्मिकामस्तिदस्त्वं जीवत्वं प्राप्य माया गुणगणगजितो वर्तसे विश्वयोनि. तत्रोद्वृद्धेन सत्त्वेन तु गुणयुगलं भक्तिभावं गदेन हित्वा सत्त्वं च हित्वा पुनरनुपहितो वर्तिता हि त्वमेव सत्त्वोन्मेषात् कदाचित् खलु विषयरसे दोषबोधे विभूमन् भूयोऽप्येषु प्रवर्तिस् सतमसि गजसि प्रोद्धते दुर्निवारा चित्तं तावद्गुणाश्च ग्रथितमिह तानि सर्वाणि रोधुं तुर्येतुय्येकभक्तिः शरणमिति भवान् हंसरूपी नगादीत् सन्धिश्रेयांसि भूयांसि रुचिभिदया कर्मिणां निर्मितानि क्षुद्रानन्दाश्च सान्दा बहुविधगदयः कृष्णदेभ्यो भवेयुः त्वं चाचाक्षक्यादः सखे ननु महिततमां प्रेयसां भक्तिमेकां तत्त्वत्यानन्दतुल्यः खलु विषयजुषां सम्मदः केन वा स्यात् तद्भक्त्या तुष्टबुद्धेः सुगमिह चरदो विच्युदाशस्य चाशाः सर्वास्युः सौख्यमय्यः सलिलकुहरगस्येव त्वयैकमय्यः सोऽयं खल्वीन्द्रलोकं कमलजभवनं योगसिद्धिश्च हृद्याः नाङ्क्षन्ते तदास्तां स्वयमनुपदिते मोक्षसौख्येऽप्यनीहः.
Anji, the fourth line, first word,
नाकाङ्क्षत्ये तदास्तां स्वयमनुपदिते मोक्षसौख्येऽप्यनीहः. तद्भक्तो बाध्यमानोऽपि च विषयरसेरिन्द्रियाशान्तिहेतोः भक्तेवाक्रम्यमाणैः पुनरपि खलु दुर्बलेर्नाभिजय्यः. सप्तार्चिर्दीपितार्चिर्दहति किल यथा भूरिधार्यप्रपञ्चं तद्भक्त्योख्ये तदेव प्रदहति दुरितं दुर्मदक्वेन्द्रियाणां. चित्तार्द्रीभावमुच्चैर्वभिषिजपुलगम् हर्षबाष्पं च हित्वा चित्तं शुद्ध्योत्कदं वा किमु बहुतपसा विद्यया वीतभक्तेः. त्वद्गादास्वादसिद्धाञ्जन सततमरी मृज्यमानोऽयमात्मा चक्षुर्वत्तत्त्वसूक्ष्मं भजति न तु तदाभ्यस्तया तर्ककोट्या.
Small correction in the second line, second word, Shuddhyet. I think you said Shuddhyot. Shuddhyet Katamba. Second line. Chittam Shuddhyet Katamba, right? That's what you have.
Oh, I put a here.
Shuddhyet Katamba.
Thank you. Dhyanam de shilayam samatanu buddha.
Sorry. Yeah, keep going. Sorry, I was on the wrong page.
Buddhasano nasiga gragnastaakshak purakadihi jita pavana padaschitta patnam tovanjam urdagram bhavayitva revividushigina samvichindhyo parishtad tatrastam bhavayetvam sajala jaladara syamalam komalangam anila slashnakesham julita magarasat kundalam mandahasindartram कौस्तुभश्री परिकतवनमालोरुहाराभिरामं श्रीवत्साङ्गं सुबाहुं मृदुलसदुदरं काञ्चनच्छायचेलं चारुस्निग्धोरुमम्बोरुहललितपदं भावयेऽहं भवन्तम् सर्वाङ्गे शङ्करङ्गत्कुदुगमिति मुहुर्धारयन्नीशचित्तं तत्रावेकत्र युञ्जे वदन सरसिजे सुन्दरी मन्दहासे तत्रालीनं तु चेतः परमसुखचिदद्वैतरूपे वितन्वन् अन्यन्नो चिन्तयेयं मुहुरिति समुपारूढयोगो भवेयम्.
Yeah, very good. All right, we'll continue with finish of 10, which we couldn't finish last time. So, Jayashree, you can be a student, and Vanigar, you can be a student. Okay. So stanza 10. Itham twadhyana yoge sati पुनरनिमाद्यष्टसंसिद्धयस्ताः दूरश्रुत्यादयोऽपि ह्यहमहमिकया सम्पतेयुर्मुरारे त्वत्सम्प्राप्तौ विलम्बावहमखिलमिदं नाद्रिये कामयेऽहं त्वामेवानन्दपूर्णं पवनपुरपते पाहि मां सर्वतापात्. So we saw last time how, towards the end, Bhattacharya was talking about the kind of the meditation you need to do, right? So where he was kind of saying you have to bring now the entire Lord in front of your edge of your nose, right? Imagine the full form of the Lord. Then you have to do that, dhyanam and all that, and then you focus on the face, and then you stop even thinking about the Lord's face, but you think about nothingness, and then eventually start thinking about Brahman, and that's the kind of Ashtanga yoga process you go through, right? So here he says, once I finish that level of control, once I finish the Ashtanga Yoga, then he says, what happens is these 8 siddhis, the Ashta Siddhi that are there, which is the ability to become small, ability to become big, light, heavy, all of these things. These Ashta Siddhi will just all come fighting for me. Because they'll all be aham, aham. They'll all say, please take me, right? So they'll all come to me automatically. But he says, but the problem with all of these things are that my ability to be with you, to join you, is only going to get delayed. See, because if I give you all power, then you will all want to implement the power, right? Okay, I can now become the smallest, I can now become the largest, I can become heavy. Okay, let me go do all these various things. Which means he says by getting all these Ashta Siddhis also, he says, I don't want it because it's going to delay my merging into you. So I'm going to say Nadhriye, I'm going to say I don't want any, I'm going to push back the Ashta Siddhis that you're even going to give me, because my Kama Eham, my intent, my wishes, Twame Vananda Purnam. I want to be with you, who is always in a condensed bliss state. That's what I want. So I'm going to reject even the 8 siddhis. So he says, oh Pavana Purapate, please, Sarva Tapa, please eradicate all the ailments with me. Right? So he says, I don't want anything from you. Right? Even the Ashta Siddhi also, if it comes, I don't want it from you. So Ittam Tvad Dhyana Yoge Sati, comma, Punar Animadhyashta. If you want to break it, Punar Animadhyashta Samsiddhayastaha. So that word you can't break. Samsiddhayastaha, comma, Dura Shrutyadayopi. So the next word I'll break it. Hyaham ahamikaya. He is actually the word he, aham, aham, ikaya. 3 words there, but because of sandhi it becomes hyaham ahamikaya, comma, sampateyur murare. Ittam twadhyana yoge sati पुनरनिमाद्यष्टसंसिद्धयस्ताः दूरश्रुत्यादयोऽपि ह्यहमहमिकया सम्पतेयुर्मुरारे.
इत्थं त्वध्यानयोगे सति पुनरनिमाध्यष्टसंसिद्धयस्ताः दूरश्रुत्यादयोऽपि ह्यहमहमिकया सम्पतेयुर्मुरारे. इत्थं त्वध्यानयोगे सति पुनरनिमाध्यष्टसंसिद्धयस्ताः दूरश्रुत्यादयोऽपि ह्यहमहमिकया सम्पतेयुर्मुरारे.
Jason, the Shrutya, the Yopi, and Hyamahamaikia, there's no need of a gap there. And then the Sampateyur is one word. I think you are saying Sampate Yur Murare, you are saying. It is Sampateyur Murare.
Okay. दूरश्रुत्यादयोऽपि ह्यहमहमिकया सम्पतेयुर्मुरारे.
Yeah, and the A when you are taking it, te, you are taking it high, right? So Anala, you are landing at the wrong. That's right.
Okay.
इत्थं त्वद्धानयोगे सति पुनरनिमाध्यष्ट संसिद्धयस्ताः दूरश्रुत्यादयोऽपि ह्यहमहमिकया सम्पदेयुर्मुरारे. इत्थं त्वद्धानयोगे सति पुनरनिमाध्यष्ट संसिद्धयस्ताः दूरश्रुत्यादयोऽपि ह्यहमहमिकया सम्पदेयुर्मुरारे.
Tvat sampraptau vilambavaham akhilamidam nadriye. Vilambam means to get delayed. So vilambavaham akhilamidam nadriye, and then put a comma. Then kamayeham, and then put a plus. So kamayeham twamevananda purnam, then a comma. Pavanapurapate pahimam sarvatapat. त्वत्सम्प्राप्तौ विलम्भावहमखिलमिदं नाद्रिये कामयेऽहं त्वामेवानन्दपूर्णं पवनपुरपते पाहि मां सर्वतापात्
त्वत्सम्प्राप्तौ विलम्बावहमखिलमिदं नाद्रिये कामयेऽहं त्वामेवानन्दपूर्णं पवनपुरपते पवनपुरपते दने
ஆமா
पवनपुरपते पाहि मां सर्वतापात् त्वत्सम्प्राप्तौ विलम्बावहमखिलमिदं नाद्रिये कामयेऽहं त्वामेवानन्दपूर्णं पवनपुरपते पाहि मां सर्वतापात्
the Twamevananda Purnam kapram this is a comma. Okay, the last line. Yeah.
त्वत्सम्प्राप्तौ विलम्बावहमखिलमिदं नाद्रिये कामयेऽहं त्वामेवानन्दपूर्णं पवनपुरपते पाहि मां सर्वतापात् त्वत्सम्प्राप्तौ विलम्बावहमखिलमिदं नाद्रिये कामयेऽहं त्वामेवानन्दपूर्णं पवनपुरपते पाहि मां सर्वतापात्. I think I didn't stop the right places, right?
No, you did. So after Nadriye, there is a comma. And then Kamayeham Twamevananda Purnam, there is a comma. And then Pavanapurapate Pakimam Sarva. Tapa. Shikshnaya Parabrahmane Namaha. Okay, we'll go to 96. So 96 is Bhagavat Vibhuti Varnana. Vibhuti means a glory. So it's just talking about the glory of the Lord. So 96 and 99 are kind of connected because 96 is saying why you are great, glory of the Lord, right? And the 99 is praising the glory of the Lord, saying you are great, so I'm going to praise you, right? So it's kind of connected. So it'll be little bit of something should be overlapping. So stanza 1. Tvam he brahmaiva sakshat paramuru mahiman aksharanam akaraha taro mantreshu rajnya manurasi munishutvam brigur naradhopi prahlado danavanam pashuchucha surabhi pakshinam vainateyo naganam asyanantah surasaridapi cha strotasam vishwamurte. So a lot of these things are pretty, in this next couple of stanzas are pretty easy explanations, right? But it's a lot of details in there. So he says, Uru Mahiman, he says, you are of, you're such infinite glory. See, if you have to praise somebody, if somebody is a really good cook, you can say you make wonderful biryani, or you can say you are a wonderful artist. But when somebody is good at everything, and they are the best at everything, but the question is, how can I come and define how great you are? I cannot even do that, right? So one way of saying how somebody is good is, and he says, you are beyond the description of the words or my mind. I can't just say in words how great you are. So when I cannot define you in words, the best way to do it is put you in the superlative form, saying you are best than the better, or the better than the best, right? That's the only way to say, because I can only pick individual things from what our mind can think. So he says, first he starts off by saying you are Vishwamurte. He says that one word Vishwamurte itself means it's like the entire world is contained in you, right? So since you all know Vishnu Sahasranam, which is that Bhupado Yasya Nabir Veda Suranilas Chandra Surya Uchanetre Karna Vasha Shirodhyor Mukamapi Dahano Asya Vasteyam Abdihi. That entire paragraph, right? Antastam Yasya Vishwam Sura Nara Khagako Bhogi Gandharva Daiti. Everybody is there inside you, right? Chitram Ram Ramyetetam Tribhuvana Vapusham. That form of the Vapusham of yours, is Tribhuvanam. It's all the three words contained in you, right? So he says, that's what he says, Vishwamurti, because the entire world is contained in you, number one. Then he goes on to say that if I have to compare, he says you are Sakshat Brahman. There's no comparison. You are Brahman himself or itself, right? Brahman doesn't have a gender, so Brahman itself. Aksharanam Akaraha. So in the Aksharana means the letters. So in the alphabet, which is the alphabet is a combination of all the letters. In the alphabet, you are A, right? And which is the first letter which is starting off with. And the reason also is, see, in Sanskrit, certain letters mean certain deities also. Like Kaha means Brahma. That's in the Vedas, no, if the word Kaha is used, that means referring to Brahma. Similarly, A, if it is used, is referring to Mahavishnu. That is the letter itself is A to refer to Mahavishnu. But you're also saying Aksharana, among all letters, you are the first letter, Akaraha. Taro Mantreshu. So among all the mantras that are here, you are the Tara Mantram. So the Tara Mantram just means the mantram which will help you cross the ocean, which will help us cross the ocean, which means one which will help you get liberated, which is the Pranava Mantram. The Om, A-U-M, Om Mantram is the Tara Mantram. So it's among all the mantras, the highest of the mantram is the Tara Mantram. So you are the Tara Mantram. Rajnyam Manurasi. So among all the Raj Rishis, among all the kings, you are Manu. Manu is the son of Brahma, right? Is the main ruler, right? Among only after Manu, all the other rulers come. So among all the kings, you are Manu. Then Munishu Tom Bhrigur. So there are two Munis here, right? One are the Brahma Rishis. So these are the Prajapatis who are coming from Brahma. So among all of those Brahma Rishis, you are Bhrigu, who is the highest of the Rishi. Then among the Deva Rishis, you are Narada, because nobody can beat Narada, who is the most famous and the most important Rishi who is there. So among the Deva Rishis, you are Narada. Prahlado Danavana. So among all the Asuras, among the Danavas. So Asuras itself generally mean that people who are evil, who are worst, who may not be, doing all the right things. But amongst them, there's a shining gem, right, which is Prahlada. So among the Asuras, you are Prahlada. And then Pashu Chucha Surabhihi. Among the animals, you are Surabhi, which is the divine cow, which will give you anything you want. So that's the most sacred cow among all the animals. Pakshinam Vainateyo. So Pakshina means among all the birds. So Vainateyo, because Garuda's mother's name is Vinata. So Vinata's son is Vainateyaha. So among the birds, you are Garuda, who is the king of the birds. Kagendra, that's the word which comes everywhere. Kaga Indra, king of the birds. Then Naganam Asyanantaha. Among the snakes, you are Adishesha. You are Ananta, Adishesha, who is the head of the snakes, right? Then Sura Saridapicha Strotasam Vishwamurti. So among all the rivers, right, you are the river which has come from the Devaloka, which is Ganges. So you among the rivers, you are the Ganges. So this way he's coming and saying, he's just comparing and saying, I cannot define your greatness, but the best I can do at least is pick each of these category and say you are better than the best that is there, or you are the best that is there.
Rajeshji, Adishesha is not same as Vasuki, right?
No, it's not. Yeah. Adishesha is where Vasuki is who's there around Shiva's neck. So Vasuki is also considered king of snakes, but then Adishesha is the incarnation of the Lord itself, because Adishesha is there before even Lord Shiva also came, right? So the Adishesha is considered the best of the snakes. Again, I'm going to say the opposite a little bit later, so I'll just for now you keep it that way, right? Is the best of the snakes for now.
Thank you, Rajeshji.
Tvam hi brahmaiva sakshat paramuru mahiman. Put the two in another, so put paramuru mahiman, comma. Next word starts with the a. Aksharanam akaraha. Put a visargan, comma. Next is goes away. Taro mantreshu, comma. Rajnyam manurasi, comma. Munishu tvam bhrigur naradopi. Tvam he brahmaiva sakshat paramuru mahiman aksharanam akaraha. Taro mantreshu rajnyam manurasi munishu tvam bhrigur naradopi.
त्वं हि ब्रह्मैव साक्षात् परमुरुमहिमन् अक्षराणामकारः तारो मन्त्रेषु राज्ञां मनुरसि मुनिषु त्वं भृगुर्नारदोऽपि त्वं हि ब्रह्मैव साक्षात् परमुरुमहिमन् अक्षराणामकारः तारो मन्त्रेषु राज्ञां मनुरसि मुनिषु त्वं भृगुर्नारदोऽपि
त्वं हि ब्रह्मैव साक्षात् परमुरुमहिमन् अक्षराणामकारः तारो मन्त्रेषु राज्ञां मनुरसि मुनिषु त्वं भृगुर्नारदोऽपि त्वं हि ब्रह्मैव साक्षात् परमुरुमहिमन् अक्षराणामकारः तारो मन्त्रेषु राज्ञां मनुरसि मुनिषु त्वं भृगुर्नारदोऽपि
Prahlado Danavanam, comma. Pashuchu cha Surabhihi, comma. Pakshinam Vainateyo, comma. Naganam Asyanantaha. That is there. Put a visarga, remove it, visargan, comma. Naganam Asyanantaha, comma. Sura Saridapi cha Strotasam Vishwamurte. Prahlado Danavanam Pashuchu Chasurabhihi Pakshinam Vainateyo Naganam Asyanantaha Surasaridapi Chastrotasam Vishwamurte.
Prahlado Danavanam Pashushudane.
Yeah, correct. Pashushu. Moon, rendu sha and then a cha.
Pashushudya Surabhihi Pakshinam Vainateyo Naganamasyanantaha Surasaridapicha Strotasam Vishwamurte. Prahlado Danavanam Pashushudya Surabhihi Pakshinam Vainateyo Naganamasyanantaha Surasaridapicha Strotasam Vishwamurte.
Prahlado Danavanam Pashushu cha Surabhihi Pakshinam Vainateyo Naganam Asyanantaha Surasaridapi cha Shrotasam Vishwamurte. Prahlado Danavanam Pashushu cha Surabhihi Pakshinam Vainateyo Naganam Asyanantaha Surasaridapi cha Shrotasam Vishwamurte.
Stanza 2. Brahmanyanam balistvam kratushu japayajnyosi Vireshu partho bhaktanam uddhavastvam balamasi balinam dhama tejasvinam tvam नास्त्यन्तस्त्वत् विभूतेः विकसदतिशयं वस्तु सर्वं त्वमेव त्वं जीवस्त्वं प्रधानं यदिह भवदृते तन्न किञ्चित् प्रपञ्चे. Just continuing. So among the Brahmanyana, so among the people who follow the Brahminical practices, see, one thing is to say I am a Brahmin. Second is to say, do you even follow all the rules and regulations? Probably a lot of people don't, right? But Bali, actually, Mahabali, although he was considered an Asura, was a very big Brahmin, right? If you also remember Vamana Avataram, when he was following that, when he saw Vamana come, he realized it's a Brahmin boy. And he says, I have to first follow the rules and regulations, even though it was a small boy. Even before he knew it was Vishnu or Narayana, he welcomed him, washed his feet, did all the appropriate stuff and everything. And later on, he stuck to the promises. So he says, among the people who follow these things, you are Mahabali. Then, Kratushusha Japa Yajnyosi, among all the sacrifices that one can do, you are Japa Yajna, you are Japam. So if you remember, even that's why even Yudhishthira comes and asks, Kim Japan Muchyate Jantus Janma Samsara Bandhanat. What Japam should I do? Right? So among all the sacrifices you can do, Japam or chanting the name is the greatest. So among the sacrifices, you are Japa mantra. Vireshu Partho. Among the people who are the bravest, you are Partha, you are Arjuna. Right? Then Bhaktanam Uddhavastvam. So of course, the Lord has got so many devotees, right? The people who live, and you can say so many, you can say Kuchela, this, that, but Kuchela was a friend, right? And then, Meera considered Lord as a lover. So they all have different relations. But when you think of devotee, one who's completely devoted to you, there was nobody bigger than Uddhava, because Uddhava lived through the entire time, right from when Krishna came to Mathura, stayed all the way through, right? And then, even at the very end, Krishna gives Uddhava all the information and gives him the idol and everything. Anyway, so amongst the bhaktas, you are Uddhava. Balamasi Balinam, you are stronger than the strongest people. And Dhama Tejasvinam Tvam. So anything which is tejas or shining, you are of course the most shiniest of all of that, right? Now, he says, now I can just keep going, right? I can just keep comparing everything and say you are the best, you are the best. So when we now say you are the best among the rivers, you are Ganges, then Yamuna is going to get angry, Kaveri is going to get angry, Mississippi is going to get angry, because are they also not the Lord, right? They are also the Lord, right? So Bhattacharya ends up saying, while I can compare you, Vastu Sarvam Tvameva. There is nothing that you are not. You are also in Ganges, you are in Kaveri, you are in Mississippi, you are also in the Kuvam which goes in Tamil Nadu, in Chennai, you are also there. We think of Kuvam as stinking and bad, but even the Kuvam has the same Lord only. There's no difference, right? So he says, I can tell you are the best among everything, but at the end of the day, you are in everything. There's no favoritism for you. You are there in absolutely sarvam. Then he says, Tat kinchit prapanche yadiha bhavadrite tan na kinchit. What is it that you are not there? There's nothing that you are not there. So actually you are there in everything. But I'm just comparing you to say why you are great, right? That's how he ends that stanza there. So Brahmanyanam Balistvam, comma, Kratushu cha Japayagnosi, and then put a comma, Vireshu Partho, comma, Bhaktanam Uddhavastvam, comma, Balamasi Balinam, comma, Dhama Tejasvinam Tvam. Brahmanyanam Balistvam, Kratushu cha Japayagnosi, Vireshu Partho, Bhaktanam Uddhavastvam, Balamasi Balinam, Dhama Tejasvinam Tvam.
ब्रह्मण्यानां बलिस्त्वं क्रतुषु च जपयज्ञोऽसि वीरेषु पार्थो भक्तानामुद्धवस्त्वं बलमसि बलिनां धाम तेजस्विनां त्वं ब्रह्मण्यानां बलिस्त्वं क्रतुषु च जपयज्ञोऽसि वीरेषु पार्थो भक्तानामुद्धवस्त्वं बलमसि बलिनां धाम तेजस्विनां त्वं
ब्रह्मण्यानां बलिस्त्वं क्रतुषु च जपयज्ञोऽसि वीरेषु पार्थो भक्तानामुद्धवस्त्वं बलमसि बलिनां धाम तेजस्विनां त्वं ब्रह्मण्यानां बलिस्त्वं क्रतुषु च जपयज्ञोऽसि वीरेषु पार्थो भक्तानामुद्धवस्त्वं बलमसि बलिनां धाम तेजस्विनां त्वं
Nastyantas Tvad Vibhutehe, put a visarga and a comma, Vibhutehe. Next line on top of that V, there is a ir that goes away. Vikasat Atishayam, if you want to break it, or you can say it together. Vikasat Atishayam, Vastu Sarvam Tvameva, comma, Tvam Jivas Tvam Pradhanam, comma, Yadiha Bhavadrite Tanna Kinchit Prapanche. नास्त्यन्तस्त्वद्विभूतेः विकसदतिशयं वस्तु सर्वं त्वमेव त्वं जीवस्त्वं प्रधानं यदिह भवदृते तन्न किञ्चित् प्रपञ्चे.
ராஜேஷ் சாரி தமிழ் ஸ்கிரிப்ட்ல துவம் ஜீவஸ்துவம் யதிஹன்னு இருக்கு நடுவுல நீங்க
எந்த லைன் சாரி
லாஸ்ட் லைன்ல துவம் ஜீவஸ்துவம் யதிஹன்னு இருக்கு தமிழ்ல.
ஓ okay, the pradhanam, so tvam jivas tvam pradhanam and then comma, then yadiha comes as part of the next nidika bhavadrite.
After okay, pradhanam
नास्त्यर्थं அது வர மாட்டேங்குது
नास्त्यन्तस्
नास्त्यन्तस्त्वद्विभूतेः विकसदतिशयं वस्तु सर्वं त्वमेव त्वं जीवस्त्वं प्रधानं यदिह भवदृते तन्न किञ्चित् प्रपञ्चे नास्त्यन्तस्त्वद्विभूतेः विकसदतिशयं वस्तु सर्वं त्वमेव त्वं जीवस्त्वं प्रधानं यदिह भवदृते तन्न किञ्चित् प्रपञ्चे
नास्त्यन्त्यस्त्वविभूतेः विकसद् अतिशयं वस्तु सर्वं त्वमेव त्वं जीवस्त्वं प्रधानं यदिह भवदृते तन्न किञ्चित् प्रपञ्चे नास्त्यन्तस्त्वद्विभूतेः विकसद् अतिशयं वस्तु सर्वं त्वमेव त्वं जीवस्त्वं प्रधानं यदिह भवदृते तन्न किञ्चित् प्रपञ्चे.
Rajesh, a quick question. Nasti na nast. What's the meaning of that?
Na asti doesn't exist. So na asti tvad vibhutehe. So there is, your glory. To vibhuti means to glory, right? So the glory, if I start describing the various things of glory, this na asti. There exists no end to your glory. I can just keep talking about it.
Okay.
So na asti antaha. Anta is end. Na asti anta means there's no end. That's the na. The other one, when you combine it, becomes nastyantas.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
Stanza 3. Dharmam varnashramanam shrutipata vihitam tvatparattvena bhaktya kurvantentarvirage vikasati shanakai santyajanto labhante सत्ता स्फूर्ति प्रियत्वात्मकमखिल पदार्थेषु भिन्नेषु भिन्नं Nirmoolam Vishwamoolam Paramamahamiti Tvat Vibhodham Vishuddham. He continues praising. So he says, see, there are like the four castes. So we know, right? We say Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. But actually, come to think of it, all of us are all four because it's only based on what you do, right? So when you're in an administrative role, automatically in your work, you are kind of behaving like a Kshatriya. And then when you're a Vaishya, means you do it trade. And also Shudra. Shudra means people who clean. We all clean our house. So at the end of the day, we are everything, but doesn't matter. He says the four castes which are there. And then the four ashramas, which are the four stages of the life. When you are a brahmachari, then you are a grihastha, then you go to the vanaprastha when you renounce your family, and then you go in seeking all this thing, and then you finally go to the sannyasi when you finally liberate everything. So no matter which caste you are and no matter which stage of the life you are, he says that if you perform all the duties which are actually laid out in the Shruti, which are laid out in the Vedas, and then the one who actually surrenders everything to the Lord, for them, this viragya, without any difficulty, that vairagyam, detachment, will automatically come. Because if you can be any of these four categories, and you can be at any stage in your life, you are doing your duties, and he says you completely surrender your duties to the Lord, then without any effort, then vairagyam, the detachment, will automatically come to you, right? And then he says, once that knowledge comes, once the detachment comes, then that knowledge also will automatically come. So he's in this essentially next set of stanzas, he's going to talk about the three margas, jnana, bhakti, and karma marga, right? That's what he's going to describe. So he's kind of setting the stage for that to say that the knowledge that you are the supreme being, that you yourself, paramam aham, I myself am the supreme being, that knowledge will automatically come once you get complete detachment from everything, and then you will start seeing that the supreme being is like it says nirmoolam vishwamoolam. Nirmoolam means the one who cannot be caused by anything, right? Like nothing can create you because everything has come from you. That is, nothing can be caused by you. And Vishwamoolam, and you are the cause of everything. That will automatically dawn onto you. You will come to the realization. Now we're just telling it, but you will eventually come to the realization that the Lord himself is the creator. The raw materials also is the Lord only. The tools are also the Lord only, right? Because if you consider things of what you need to create, the raw materials are the Pancha Bhutas from which everything starts coming. Even that is come from the Bhagavan only. And who is the creator? That is also the same Bhagavan. What are the tools he's using? He's using himself only to create as a tool. So all of that is you, which will come to realization once you get complete vairagyam, detachment. First, which is going to come from giving up that, all the duties you do and then surrender to the Lord. So dharmam varnashramanam shruti pata vihitam, tvat paratvena bhaktya, kurvantontar, so that word you can say it together, kurvantontar virage, vikasati shanakaihi, putta is shanakais, santyajanto labhante. Dharmam varnashramanam shrutipata vihitam tvatparatvena bhaktya kurvantontar virage vikasati shanakai santyajanto labhante.
Dharmam varnashramanam shrutipatha vihitam tvatparatvena bhaktya kurvantum tarvirage vikasati shanakai santyajanto labhante. Dharmam varnashramanam shrutipatha vihitam tvatparatvena bhaktya kurvantum tarvirage vikasati shanakai santyajanto labhante.
Dharmam varnashramanam shrutipata vihitam tvatparatvena bhaktya kurvam tontar virage vikasati shanakai santyajanto labhante. Dharmam varnashramanam shrutipata vihitam tvatparatvena bhaktya kurvam tontar virage vikasati shanakai santyajanto labhante.
That first line, Vanigaru, there's no break between varnashramanam and shrutipata. Okay, that's together.
Dharmam varnashramanam shrutipata vihitam.
Yeah. Satta spurti priya tvatmakam akhila. So I'm just breaking it. Priya tvatmakam akhila padarteshu bhinneshwa bhinnam. So that whole line is together, nirmoolam vishwamoolam paramam ahamiti, Tvat vibodham vishuddham. Satta spurtit priyatvatmakam akhila padartheshu bhinneshva bhinnam nirmoolam vishwamulam paramamahamiti tvat vibodham vishuddham.
Satta spurti priyatvatmakamakhila padartheshu bhinneshva bhinnam nirmoolam vishwamulam paramamahamiti tvad-vibodham vishuddham. Satta spurti priyatvatmakamakhila padartheshu bhinneshva bhinnam nirmoolam vishwamulam paramamahamiti tvad-vibodham vishuddham.
Satta spurti priyatvat makhamakhila padartheshu bhinneshva bhinnam nirmoolam vishwamulam paramamahamiti tvad-vibodham vishuddham. Satta spurti
Priyatvatmakamakhila.
Satta spurti priyatvatmakamakhila padartheshu bhinneshva bhinnam nirmoolam vishwamulam paramamahamiti tvad-vibodham vishuddham.
Stanza 4. Jnanam karmapi bhaktistritayamiha bhavat prapakam tatra tavat nirvinnanam asheshe vishaya iha bhavet jnana yoge dikaraha saktanam karma yogaha त्वयि विनिहितो ये तु नात्यन्त सक्ताः नाप्यत्यन्तं विरक्ताः त्वयि च धृतरसा भक्ति योगो ह्यमीषाम्. So here this is directly what Krishna actually tells Uddhava. So Krishna tells Uddhava that I want human beings to finally attain perfection or liberation. So he says to make their lives easy, I'm actually giving them 3 choices, right? And then he goes on to describe which path is right for whom. See, because the question always comes, should I take the Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, right? So he says these are if you meet these criteria, this is best for you, right? So he's describing those 3 criteria. First he says, if anybody is completely disgusted with material life, he says, I don't like any of these things. Like I'm not attached to sense of taste. I'm not attached to the material desires, the kind of food, the kind of clothes you wear, and the type of things you desire. I'm not attached to any of those things. And I'm also not attached to doing activities which will give me this. That's also important. See, because you say, I may not like any of these things, but then you go perform one Ishtakameti Yagam, you go perform. Because in that Yagam, you are asking for things at the end of the day. So you are also not interested in performing those activities which will result in giving you more things. And you also do not like, that I don't want heaven either, that because that's only going to give me more things. I don't like any of it. He says for you, Jnana Yoga is the best path. Because that one is all about introspection. And that is all about getting the knowledge, right? And all of that stuff. So Karma Yoga doesn't make sense for you. Bhakti Yoga also doesn't make sense for you. Jnana Yoga is the best path for people who are completely detached from everything, don't want anything. Then there's a second category of people who says, I am not disgusted with material life. I have so many things I want. I also have a family I want to take care, right? And this I don't have the intellect to go and do all this pondering of who is Brahman, what is the Atma, what is Advaitam and all that stuff. I don't have any of that stuff. And I also want to enjoy in the sense I am also desiring things, right? I also want to go to heaven, all of that stuff. He says for you, Karma Yoga makes sense. But the only difference is if you want more of those things and you keep getting it, then you will not get liberated. So you can do the Karma Yoga, because by doing Karma Yoga, you're following all the rules which are laid out in the Vedas and other things. You're performing the activities and you're getting the benefits. As long as you surrender the complete activities and surrender the benefits to the Lord, you will get liberation, right? But you don't have to worry about going and understanding this complicated philosophy and theory and all that stuff. You don't have to. You can just do everything you're doing. Right? You want to do homework, you do homework. You want to go pray, you go pray. You want to do your daily duties, you go do your daily duties. But as long as you surrender it, you're fine. That's also very simple, but only thing is you have to give up, surrender everything. You should not say, I want to reap the benefits of all the things that I'm actually doing, right? So that's what we saw in the previous one also, the detachment, That vairagyam has to come where you're not, we're detached to it. That's the second one. Then the third one is people who are like, I'm not fully detached, I also fully don't want anything. I'm kind of stuck in the middle. I don't know where I belong, right? So for them, for you, bhakti yoga is best, because then you are not sure where you fit in, right? And then you will just keep chanting the name of the Lord and don't worry about whether you get something or you don't get something. You don't care one way or the other. For you, the middle path of the bhakti yoga is the best path, right? So that is what Lord Krishna also tells Uddhava about the three different paths which are there, which people can take. Very simply explained, but he just, the person who is in between is the best candidate for devotional service. That's all it is. Doesn't mean if I'm in the middle, automatically I'll be in bhakti yoga. That means you are a good candidate. You meet the basic requirements, and then you can get into bhakti yoga, where of course you have to get more devotion towards the Lord. So that is the three paths that he's defining here. So jnanam karmapi bhaktis tritayamiha, comma, bhavat prapakam tatra tavat, comma, put a it there, tatra tavat, it and comma. Next line, there's a double na, you can remove one of that. Nirvinnanam asheshe, nirvinnanam asheshe, vishaya iha bhavet, comma, jnana yogedikaraha. ज्ञानं कर्मापि भक्तिस्तृतयमिह भवत् प्रापकं तत्र तावत् निर्विण्णानामशेषे विषयैः भवेत् ज्ञानयोगेऽधिकारः
ज्ञानं कर्मापि भक्तिस्तृतयमिह भवत् प्रापकं तत्र तावत् निर्विण्णानामशेषे विषयैः भवेत् ज्ञानयोगेऽधिकारः ज्ञानं कर्मापि भक्तिस्तृतयमिह भवत् प्रापकं तत्र तावत् निर्विण्णानामशेषे विषयैः भवेत् ज्ञानयोगेऽधिकारः
ज्ञानं कर्मापि भक्तिस्तृतयमिह भवत् प्रापकं तत्र तावत् निर्विण्णानामशेषे विषयैः भवेत् ज्ञानयोगेऽधिकारः ज्ञानं कर्मापि भक्तिस्तृतयमिह भवत् प्रापकं तत्र तावत् निर्विण्णानामशेषे विषयैः भवेत् ज्ञानयोगेऽधिकारः
Saktanam karma yogaha, that is, you remove visarga comma, tvayi hi vinihito yetu natyanta saktaha, comma, napyatyantam viraktaha. Again, is, you remove visarga comma, viraktaha, tvayi cha dhritarasa bhakti yogo hyamisham. So half ha and ya, hyamisham. सक्तानां कर्मयोगः त्वयि हि विनिहितो ये तु नात्यन्तसक्ताः नाप्यत्यन्तं विरक्ताः त्वयि च धृतरसा भक्तियोगो ह्यमीषाम्.
सक्तानां कर्मयोगः त्वयि हि विनिहितो ये तु नात्यन्तसक्ताः नाप्यत्यन्तं विरक्ताः त्वयि च धृतरसा भक्तियोगो ह्यमीषाम्. सक्तानां कर्मयोगः त्वयि हि विनिहितो ये तु नात्यन्तसक्ताः नाप्यत्यन्तं विरक्ताः त्वयि च धृतरसा भक्तियोगो ह्यमीषाम्.
सक्तानां कर्मयोगः त्वयि हि विनिहितो ये तु नात्यन्तसक्ताः नाप्यत्यन्तं विरक्ताः त्वयि च धृतरसा भक्तियोगो ह्यमीषाम्. सक्तानां कर्मयोगः त्वयि हि विनिहितो ये तु नात्यन्तसक्ताः नाप्यत्यन्तं विरक्ताः त्वयि च धृतरसा भक्तियोगो ह्यमीषाम्.
That's right. ज्ञानं त्वद्भक्ततां वां लघुसुकृतवशान् मर्त्यलोके लभन्ते तस्मात् तत्रैव जन्म स्पृहयति भगवन् नाकगो नारको वा आविष्टं मां तु दैवात् भवजलनिधिपोतायिते मर्त्यदेहे त्वं कृत्वा कर्णधारं गुरुमनुगुणवातायितस्तारयेताः. Now, this is something which is again come before, but he repeats saying that the people who reside in the heavens, in the godly planets, the people who reside in the lower planets, they all want human life, because he says again, you guys don't realize that the human life is the best, gives you the opportunity for you to actually attain liberation much faster compared to any of the heavenly bodies. Because but the problem with the human life is it has got a limited span. Like if you're a deva, then your lifespan is completely different, right? You still have death and everything, but your lifespan is completely different. But a human life comes with a limited lifespan, right? But it has a greatest mileage you can get in that limited lifespan, right? Now he says all these humans who are there, I think somebody is on. So that he says in that human lifespan, people who have done sukrita, su is good, krita is actions. So people who have done good actions in the past, they are the ones who have, see, for you to accelerate, you need to have the tools, right? And now the people who have done good deeds now have access to the tools of getting access to you. And now once you have access to you, then you have to see, in the limited lifespan I have, how can I get maximum mileage out of it? How do I put it to the best use, right? He says that is a big advantage, and he says that's why a human being should not wish to even get promoted to heaven. Because he says the moment you get promoted to heaven or you go to the other upper worlds, he says you'll have so many good things that will happen to you, but you will not get liberated. It will going to take you longer time to get liberated. The easiest way to get liberated is to be born as a human, right? That's what he kind of explaining. And then he says, now that I have been born as a human, he now is comparing it and saying, I have this ocean of samsara in front of me. How do I cross this ocean of samsara? Ocean, because it's water body. So he's saying, for me to do this, now you're standing at the beach and you want to cross this ocean. He says, the path for me is, I first need a boat. I need a driver or a rower. And because he's in that age, he's saying, talking about wind kind of helping you to go where you want to go, right? He says the boat is kind of all the tools, all the Narayaneeyam, everything that you have. And he says the driver for that is, I need a guru who will teach me with it. But the most important thing he says is the wind which blows is your blessing. Because if I want to go east, but if the wind starts blowing west, then I can't go anywhere. So I also need your blessing. So he says, with this boat and the driver and the wind may benefit, I'll be able to cross this ocean of samsara. So please bless me so I can cross this. So jnanam tvat bhaktatam va, comma, lagu sukrita vashan martya loke labhante, comma, tasmat tatraiva janma sprihayati bhagavan, comma, nakago narako va. Jnanam tvad bhaktatam va lagu sukrita vashan martya loke labhante tasma tatraiva janma sprihayati bhagavan nakago narako va.
Jnanam tvadbhaktatam va lagu sukrtavashan martya loke labhante tasma tatraiva janma sprihayati bhagavan nakago narako va. Jnanam tvadbhaktatam va lagu sukrtavashan martya loke labhante tasma tatraiva janma sprihayati bhagavan nakago narako va.
Jnanam tvadbhaktitam va lagu sukrita vashan martyaloke labhante tasmat tatraiva janma spruhayati bhagavan nakago narako va. Jnanam tvadbhaktitam va.
Sorry, Twani Garu. Bhaktatam va. You're saying bhakti.
Oh, sorry. Jnanam tvadbhaktatam va lagu sukrita vashan martyaloke labhante tasmat tatraiva janma spruhayati bhagavan nakago narako va.
Avishtam mam tu daivat, comma, bhava jala nidhi pothayite martya dehe, comma, tvam kritva karnadharam gurum anuguna vatayitas tarayetaha. So that line is continuous, no comma. Avishtam mam tu daivat bhavajala nidipotayite martyadehe tvam kritva karnadharam gurumanuguna vatayitas tarayetaha.
आविष्टं मां तु दैवात् भवजलनिधि पोतायिते मर्त्यदेहे त्वं कृत्वा कर्णधारं गुरुमनुगुणवातायितस्तारयेथाः रागं पेडिते आविष्टं मां तु दैवात् भवजलनिधि पोतायिते मर्त्यदेहे त्वं कृत्वा कर्णधारं गुरुमनुगुणवातायितस्तारयेथाः
आविष्टं मां तु दैवत् भवजलनिधिपोतायिते मर्त्यदेहे त्वं कृत्वा कर्णधारं गुरुमनुगुणवातायितस्तारयेथाः आविष्टं मां तु दैवत्
So Daivat.
आविष्टं मां तु दैवात् भवजलनिधिपोतायिते मर्त्यदेहे त्वं कृत्वा कर्णधारं गुरुमनुगुणवातायितस्तारयेथाः.
Okay, let's just switch. Arti, you can be a student, and Swami, you can be a student. Stanza 6. अव्यक्तं मार्गयन्तः श्रुतिभिरपि नयैः केवलज्ञानलुब्धाः क्लिश्यन्तेतीव सिद्धिं बहुतरजनुषामन्त एवाप्नुवन्ति दूरस्थः कर्मयोगेऽपि च परमफले नन्वयं भक्तियोगस्त्वामूलादेव हृद्यः त्वयितमयि भवत्प्रापको वर्धतां ते मे. So it's a little bit of repeat. He says that the people who's only kevalam jnanam, only people who are only focused on the jnana yoga, seeking the avyaktam, seeking the unmanifested Brahman, right? That's the whole purpose of jnana yoga, is to understand that whole unmanifested Brahman who's without any form, which is difficult to comprehend, all of that stuff. So they, they have to first study a lot of the Vedas, number one. And then there is also called as a Nyaya Shastra, which has got a lot of text, which is talking about how do you introspect things, and how do you keep asking. They talk about the 5 whys you ask to get to an answer. This is several whys you have to keep asking to get to an answer. So it's kind of talking about the logic. So you have to be very interested in the logic, theory, philosophy, and still studying all the Vedas. He says, one, it is going to take you enormous amount of time. And it's number one, and it's going to take multiple lives. Although you may still be able to build on what you already have, it's take a long time. So he says that is one problem with it. And karma yoga, so essentially he says the bhakti yoga, the devotion, bhakti yoga's advantage is, one, it is very quick, it is very easy, it's not at all complicated, it's the most easiest, because of which that is the one which is most preferred, and which most people take. But again, he's only comparing relatively and saying this is easy, like he's also said before. He says very easy and it's very quick also, because of which that is the one that. And then because of that, he says, because of that, bhakti vardata may that bhakti in me grow even more, because that is the easiest way for me compared to the other paths. Avyaktam margayantaha, shruti bhirapi nayaihi, put a ich sound, nayaih kevala jnana lubdhaha, klishyantetiva, siddhim bahutara janushamanta evapnuvanti. अव्यक्तं मार्गयन्तः श्रुतिभिरपि नयैः केवलज्ञानलुब्धाः क्लिश्यन्तेतीव सिद्धिं बहुतरजनुषामन्त एवाप्नुवन्ति.
अव्यक्तं मार्गयन्तः श्रुतिभिरपि नयैः केवलज्ञानलुब्धाः क्लिश्यन्तेतीव सिद्धिं बहुतरजनुषामन्त एवाप्नुवन्ति. अव्यक्तं मार्गयन्तः श्रुतिभिरपि नयैः केवलज्ञानलुब्धाः क्लिश्यन्तेतीव सिद्धिं बहुतरजनुषाम् अन्त एवाप्नुवन्ति.
अव्यक्तं मार्गयन्तः श्रुतिभिरपि नयैः केवलज्ञानलुब्धाः क्लिश्यन्तेतीव सिद्धिं बहुतरजनुषामन्त एवाप्नुवन्ति. अव्यक्तं मार्गयन्तः श्रुतिभिरपि नयैः केवलज्ञानलुब्धाः क्लिश्यन्तेतीव सिद्धिं बहुतरजनुषामन्त एवाप्नुवन्ति.
And the one T and the end on this is short E, okay? So just be careful on stretch. Durastaha, put a ich sound, durastah, karma yogopi cha parama phale, comma. So comma after parama phale, nanvayam bhakti yoga, and then put a plus. So nanvayam bhakti yogas tvamuladeva hridyaha. So remove that is, put a visarga comma, hridyaha. Tvaritamai bhavat prapako vardatam me. दूरस्थः कर्मयोगोऽपि च परमफले नन्वयं भक्तियोगस्त्वामूलादेव हृद्यः त्वरितमयि भवत्प्रापको वर्धतां मे.
Bhagavat கொடுத்திருக்கு அது பவத்னு மாத்திக்கலாம் இல்லையா?
Bhagavat, it also means the same thing, change it to bhavat. Yeah,
bhavat. दूरस्थः कर्मयोगोऽपि च परमफले नन्वयं भक्तियोगस्त्वामूलादेव हृद्यः त्वरितमयि भवत् प्रापको वर्धतां मे. दूरस्थः कर्मयोगोऽपि च परमफले नन्वयं भक्तियोगस्त्वामूलादेव हृद्यः त्वरितमयि भवत् प्रापको वर्धतां मे.
only difference is Bhagavat means to Bhagavan, Bhavat means to you. So that's it. It means the same thing. It's just different one next. Yeah.
दूरस्थः कर्मयोगोऽपि च परमफले नन्वयं भक्तियोगस्त्वामूलादेव हृद्यः त्वरितमयि भवत् प्रापको वर्धतां मे. दूरस्थः कर्मयोगोऽपि च परमफले नन्वयं भक्तियोगस्त्वामूलादेव हृद्यः त्वरितमयि भवत् प्रापको वर्धतां मे.
Santa 7. ज्ञानायैवाति यत्नं मुनिरपवदते ब्रह्मतत्त्वं तु शृण्वन् गाढं त्वत्पादभक्तिं शरणमयति यस्तस्य मुक्तिः कराग्रे त्वध्यानेऽपीह तुल्या पुनरसुकरता चित्तचाञ्चल्यहेतोः अभ्यासादाशु शक्यं तदपि वशयितुं त्वत्कृपाचारुताभ्याम्. So he's talking about this Muni. Muni means by default referring to sage Vyasa. So he's saying even sage Vyasa, who compiled all the Vedas together, which kind of dictate how to do Karma Yoga, right? A lot of the Karma Yoga is there. Even the Jnana Yoga is also there in Vedas. Even he himself is saying, why are you spending so much effort with seeking knowledge alone, right? So I think I might have already told the story, right? Vyasa had compiled these Vedas. He was feeling very dissatisfied, because he said these Vedas are first of all so complicated. When is anybody going to get a chance? Even though he break the Vedas into 4, he said even to learn one Veda in a lifetime is going to be complicated for people, and nobody is going to have the knowledge to understand what is there in the Vedas. Then he said, for the mortals, I'm going to create Mahabharata, right? So it's because everybody can understand. Mahabharata has got so much knowledge and tattva, many people can understand. But still he was very upset, right? And then that's when sage Narada comes and says, why are you still upset? He said, I've done all this. I feel like I've done nothing for society, even after compiling the Vedas and doing Mahabharata, right? So that's when Narada says, none of these have bhakti in it. That is the problem with this. The essence of none of this is bhakti. And that's when he goes on to compile Srimad Bhagavatam and all that stuff. So even Bhartaripada is saying, when Vyasa has said, just knowledge alone is not going to be, it's going to be complicated, it's going to take time. And then he also says, you also all know how meditation is also complicated. Like we spoke about how you have to go through the Ashtanga Yoga, mind varies, senses, all that stuff. So he says, however, the one who is Sharanamaya, the one who is completely surrenders to you, his Karagre means, like we say, like tip of your fingers. Liberation is standing at the tip of your fingers waiting for you. He says that's all he needs, right? The complete devotion to you. Ghadam means complete Tvatpada Bhaktim. So complete devotion and surrender to your feet. If somebody has, for that person, liberation is waiting at the tip of their fingers, ready for them, right? That's why he says, so because of this, he says, please, bless me also so that I can continue to be more embedded in devotion with you and then think about you a lot. So, Jnana Yeivati Yatnam Munir Apavadate, if you want to break it, or you can say it together, Munir Apavadate, comma, Brahma Tattvam tu Shrunvan Gadham Tvatpada Bhaktim, comma, Sharanamayati Yes Tasya Muktihi. Put ich muktih karagre. Jnanayaivaati yatnam munirapavadate ब्रह्मतत्त्वं तु शृण्वन् गाढं त्वत्पादभक्तिं शरणमयति यस्तस्य मुक्तिः कराग्रे
ज्ञानायैवाति यत्नं मुनिरपवदति ब्रह्मतत्त्वं तु शृण्वन् गाढं त्वत्पादभक्तिं शरणमयति यस्तस्य मुक्तिः कराग्रे ज्ञानायैवाति यत्नं मुनिरपवदति ब्रह्मतत्त्वं तु शृण्वन् गाढं त्वत्पादभक्तिं शरणमयति यस्तस्य मुक्तिः कराग्रे
ज्ञानायैवाति यत्नं मुनिरपवदते ब्रह्मतत्त्वं तु शृण्वन् गाढं त्वत्पादभक्तिं शरणमयति यस्तस्य मुक्तिः कराग्रे ज्ञानायैवाति यत्नं मुनिरपवदते ब्रह्मतत्त्वं तु शृण्वन् गाढं त्वत्पादभक्तिं शरणमयति यस्तस्य मुक्तिः कराग्रे
त्वद् ध्यानेऽपीह तुल्या पुनरसुकरता पुनरसुकरता but you can say it together पुनरसुकरता comma चित्त चांचल्य हेतोः put a visargan comma हेतोः next line ra becomes a अभ्यासादाशु शक्यं comma तदपि वशयितुं त्वत् कृपा चारुताभ्याम् त्वध्यानेऽपीह तुल्या पुनरसुकरता चित्तचाञ्चल्यहेतोः अभ्यासादाशु शक्यं तदपि वशयितुं त्वत्कृपा चारुताभ्याम्
त्वद्ध्यानेऽपीह तुल्या पुनरसुकरता चित्तचाञ्चल्यहेतोः अभ्यासादाशु शक्यं तदपि वशयितुं त्वत्कृपा चारुताभ्याम् त्वद्ध्यानेऽपीह तुल्या पुनरसुकरता चित्तचाञ्चल्यहेतोः अभ्यासादाशु शक्यं तदपि वशयितुं त्वत्कृपा चारुताभ्याम्
त्वद्ध्यानेऽपीह तुल्या पुनरसुकरता चित्तचाञ्चल्यहेतोः अभ्यासादाशु शक्यं तदपि वशयितुं त्वत्कृपा चारुताभ्याम् त्वद्ध्यानेऽपीह तुल्या पुनरसुकरता चित्तचाञ्चल्यहेतोः अभ्यासादाशु शक्यं तदपि वशयितुं त्वत्कृपा चारुताभ्याम्
निर्विण्णः कर्म मार्गे खलु विषमतमे त्वत्कथादौ च गाढं जातः श्रद्धोऽपि कामानै भुवनपते नैव शक्नोमि हातुं तद्भूयो निश्चयेन त्वयि निहितमना दोषबुद्ध्या भजंस्तान् पुष्णीयां भक्तिमेव त्वयि हृदयगते मंक्षु नङ्क्ष्यन्ति संकाः. So it's kind of wrapping up this chapter with this. Next two are kind of little bit independent or stories. So here he says, now because of this, all the reasons said, I am going to become completely disinterested. I'm not even going to care for this karma marga, this Vedic rituals, right? This is what Bhattacharya is saying, because that produces more good things which I don't want. And then I'm going to completely focus on listening to your stories, your activities, your names and all of that. That's what I'm going to give up that. And by doing it, like we said earlier, automatically my desires will start coming down because the sattva guna in me is going to go up. But I know it is not going to completely go. So even when the thing comes up again in my mind, I will remind myself that this thing is coming to obstruct you. And then again with my determination in my mind, I'm going to bhajan stan. I'm going to continue to worship you. So please, bless me so that I continue to not get deviated and just kind of repeat in a cycle till this thing completely goes away. Till it gets completely destroyed. Nirvinnaha nirvinnah karma marge khalu vishamatame, tvat katadau cha gadham, jata shraddhobi कामानै भुवनपते नैव शक्नोमि हातुम्. निर्विण्णः कर्म मार्गे खलु विषमतमे त्वत्कथादौ च गाढं जातः श्रद्धोऽपि कामानै भुवनपते naiva shaknomi hatum.
निर्विण्णः कर्म मार्गे खलु विषमतमे त्वत्कथादौ च गाढम् जातः श्रद्धोऽपि कामानै भुवनपते नैव शक्नोमि हातुम् निर्विण्णः कर्म मार्गे खलु विषमतमे त्वत्कथादौ च गाढम् जातः श्रद्धोऽपि कामानै भुवनपते नैव शक्नोमि हातुम्
निर्विण्णः कर्म मार्गे खलु विषमतमे त्वत्कदादौ च गाढम् जातश्रद्धोऽपि कामानै भुवनपते नैव शक्नोमि हातुम् निर्विण्णः कर्म मार्गे खलु विषमतमे त्वत्कदादौ च गाढम् जातश्रद्धोऽपि कामानै भुवनपते नैव शक्नोमि हातुम्
तद्भूयो निश्चयेन त्वयि निहितमना दोष बुद्ध्या भजन्स्तान् पुष्णीयां भक्तिमेव त्वयि हृदय गते मंक्षु नङ्क्ष्यन्ति संघाः.
Rajesh ji, is it bhajan? Is it N sound or M sound?
It's that's like we said last time, right? That because that tha is coming later, is coming later. Sometimes some books have it as bhajan stan, but you can also say bhajam stan is also fine. So it's either is okay in that context. But the individual word is bhajan. So bhajan to you. So bhajan stan is the right way to say that. तद्भूयो निश्चयेन त्वयि निहितमना दोषबुद्ध्या भजन्स्तान् पुष्णीयां भक्तिमेव त्वयि हृदयगते मंक्षु नङ्क्ष्यन्ति संघाः.
तद्भूयो निश्चयेन त्वयि निहितमना दोषबुद्ध्या भजन्स्तान् पुष्णीयां भक्तिमेव त्वयि हृदयगते मंक्षु नङ्क्ष्यन्ति संघाः. तद्भूयो निश्चयेन त्वयि निहितमना दोषबुद्ध्या भजन्स्तान् पुष्णीयां भक्तिमेव त्वयि हृदयगते मंक्षु नङ्क्ष्यन्ति नङ्क्ष्यन्ति संघाः.
नङ्क्ष्यन्ति
मंक्षु नङ्क्ष्यन्ति संघाः.
तद्भूयो निश्चयेन त्वयि निहितमना दोषबुद्ध्या भजंस्तान् पुष्णीयां भक्तिमेव त्वयि हृदयगते मंक्षु नङ्क्ष्यन्ति संघाः. तद्भूयो निश्चयेन त्वयि निहितमना दोषबुद्ध्या भजंस्तान् पुष्णीयां भक्तिमेव त्वयि हृदयगते मंक्षु नङ्क्ष्यन्ति संघाः.
Stanza 9. कश्चित् क्लेशाजितार्थक्षय विमलमतिः नुद्यमानो जनौघैः प्रागेवं प्राह विप्रो न खलु मम जनः कालकर्मग्रहा चेतो मे दुःखहेतुः तदिह गुणगणं भावयत् सर्वकारीत्युक्त्वा शान्तो गतस्त्वां मम च कुरु विभो तादृशीं चित्तशान्तिम्. So this, so like I said, right, a lot of these dasakams are taken from the 11th skandam, where Krishna is giving advice to Uddhava, right, preaching to Uddhava, the Uddhava Gita. So here Krishna says that, see, even when you are completely neglected by somebody, you are ridiculed by somebody, right, or people are beating you up, tying you up, doing whatever they want to you, right. So one who desires, one who's so devoted should not mind about it. Like you should go about with your devotion. Like you are devoted, somebody is ridiculing you, saying what is it? And we saw it in a few chapters also, it came, right? He says people will ridicule me, people will call he's acting, he's fake and all that. So none of that should distract you from your devotion. You should continue. You should not give up or lower your devotion because somebody is saying that, right? So Krishna tells it to Uddhava. So Uddhava says, but he says, you know, the problem with this life is we all have our identities, right? And we are so attached to our identities, no matter what the identity is, right? So if you're a teacher and then if your people ridicule you saying you don't know anything, you are a useless teacher, you haven't studied anything, then you start feeling bad about it, right? Or any profession for that matter, you will start feeling bad about it. So Uddhava says, how do I get over it? It's very hard, right? So Krishna says, let me tell you a story. So he tells a story about a Brahmana who's Brahmin, but then he's also like a Vaishya, like in the sense he also had a lot of business and everything, right? He was a merchant as well, and he generated a lot of wealth. And but the problem with him was he was very greedy, and then he was very miserly also. He was not sharing the wealth with anybody, even with his own family. He was not sharing any wealth. So because of that, his own sons, his children, his family, his grandchildren, his relatives, nobody liked him. Nobody wanted to help him out with anything. But over time, due to fate and everything else, this Brahmin starts losing everything, and he loses all the money that he actually has right now. So once he loses all this money, and then when he goes back, he sees that absolutely nobody respects him. Nobody wants to be around him because he never shared anything with them. He never cared for them, and he was doing well either. So then he comes to this realization that money in this case was the cause of all of these things, right? And then he comes to the realization, and then he then says, actually, I'm thankful to the Lord for putting me in such a state, because unless I had gotten to this state of losing completely everything and struggling and everybody rejecting me and ridiculing me, I wouldn't have realized what the ultimate truth is. So that Brahmin who became so poor then starts realizing it, and he gets very devoted, and then he compiles what is called as a Bhikshu Gita. So we know Bhagavad Gita, we also know the Rudra Gita, which Shiva told the Prachetas. So this is called as a Bhikshu Gita. Bhikshu is a beggar. So he's become a beggar now. He's wandering in the streets with absolutely nothing. And then he compiles this great Bhikshu Gita, where he actually goes and says that, everybody who has problems, we blame different people. We either blame the planets are not correct, that's why things are not working for me, or I'm not, this is all not happening because my spouse is not behaving good with me, or my office, my colleagues are not behaving good with me, or my children are not doing this. We always blame others. He says none of that is responsible. Only your mind is responsible for everything else. Because he says if your mind is completely devoted to the Lord, right, and you completely surrender everything, none of this should impact what is happening to you, right? You should have that much control over your mind that no matter what any external influence, even if it happens, should not bother you, right? So he compiles this great thing, and then he says, even if you, if you're in this material life, he says a person who's doing all the rituals, who's doing all the various things, but if he doesn't have the mind under control, he's still going to get stuck into it, because you're going to expect something, that something is not going to happen. You're again going to feel distracted, dejected, and all that stuff, right? And then he says the person who has his mind under control will not have to do anything else, right? So that is that Bhikshu Gita that this Brahmana compiles, which Krishna then tells Uddhava, and he says your devotion should be such that no matter what so this Brahmana, what happens is he's actually wandering the streets, people throw stones at him, people scream at him, yell at him and everything, and then he doesn't care about anything. So I was just talking about Rishabha Yogeshwara, which we had seen earlier to another class, and that's what the same thing happens with Rishabha Yogeshwara. Lord Avataram is people ridicule Rishabha Yogeshwara. He has everything which is, I don't care. You can say whatever you want. That is how I am. You can call me a madman. You can call me a ghost. You can call me whatever it is, because I'm always just praying to you. That's okay. So that is the example Krishna gives here. And then Bhattaripat says, Tadrishim Chitta Shantin. So please bless me with the peace of mind. So please give me a mind which I can control, so that I don't get distracted by what other people are telling me, right?
Rajesh, a quick question. Just a name of that saint. Like he used to, think about Lord all the time. So he'll be walking upon the women will be taking bath there, and he'll go there, and then everybody will start shouting, and then the person will come and cut his hand, and then he'll still be walking around. Oh, then that person who cut his. Do you know the name of the saint?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're telling, and the name is not ringing a bell.
Sadashiva Brahmendra. Sadashiva Brahmendraலோட கையை கட் பண்ணினாலும் he was walking. அது ஒரு ஸ்டோரி இருக்கு.
Correct.
நீங்க சொல்றது சுகபிரம்மம் இல்லன்னு நினைக்கிறேன். சதாசிவ பிரம்மேந்திரா
Sukabrahma story, Vyasa realizes how great Sukabrahmam is when Vyasa and Sukabrahmam are walking, right? And Sukabrahmam never wears any clothes. He's naked, right? They're walking. So they're walking, and then they see in a river there are some women who are taking bath. When Sukabrahmam walks, right, nothing happens. And then when Vyasa is walking, the women cover themselves up, right? So Vyasa then realizes what a great soul Sukha Brahmam is, right? First of all, he's not worried about Sukha Brahmam getting attracted to things, but he's so pious that he says the women also don't feel threatened by Sukha Brahmam walking, right? That they didn't want to cover themselves up, right? So that is a Sukha Brahmam story. But in the Kai cut panna story is some
Brahmendra.
Brahmendra, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
Kaschit klesharjitartha. So there's two ir coming there. Klesharjitartha kshaya bimala matihi. Put a visargan comma matihi. Nudya. So on top of it, nu, there's a ir that goes away. Nudyamano janaugaihi, comma. Pragevam praha vipro na khalu mama janaha, comma. Kala karma grahava. कश्चित् क्लेशार्जितार्थक्षयविमलमतिः नुद्यमानो जनौघैः प्रागेवं प्राह विप्रो न खलु मम जनः कालकर्मग्रहावा
कश्चित् क्लेशार्जितार्थक्षयविमलमतिः नुद्यमानौ जनौघैः प्रागेवं प्राह विप्रो न खलु मम जनः कालकर्मग्रहावा कश्चित् क्लेशार्जितार्थक्षयविमलमतिः नुद्यमानौ जनौघैः प्रागेवं प्राह विप्रो न खलु मम जनः कालकर्मग्रहावा
कश्चित् क्लेशार्जितार्थक्षयविमलमतिः नुद्यमानो जनौघैः प्रागेवं प्राह विप्रो न खलु मम जनः कालकर्मग्रहावा कश्चित् क्लेशार्जितार्थक्षयविमलमतिः नुद्यमानो जनौघैः प्रागेवं प्राह विप्रो न खलु मम जनः कालकर्मग्रहावा
चेतो में दुःख हेतुः, that is removed visargan comma, tadiha guna ganam bhavayat sarvakari, and then put a plus, tyuktva shanto gatastvam, comma. So one comma after dukkha hetuhu, then continues one comma after gatastvam, mama cha kuru vibho tadrushim chitta shantim. चेतो मे दुःख हेतुः तदिह गुणगणं भावयत् सर्वकारी त्युक्त्वा शान्तो गतस्त्वां मम च कुरु विभो तादृशीं चित्तशान्तिम्.
चेतो मे दुःखहेतुः ततिह गुणगणं भावयत् सर्वकारी त्युक्त्वा शान्तो गतस्त्वां मम च कुरु विभो तादृशीं चित्तशान्तिम्.
And the fourth line after तादृशीं.
तादृशीम्, okay. Now तादृशी.
Yeah.
चेतो मे दुःखहेतुः ततिह गुणगणं भावयत् सर्वकारी त्युक्त्वा शान्तो गतस्त्वां मम च कुरु विभो तादृशीं चित्तशान्तिम्.
चेतो मे चेतो मे दुःख हेतुः तदिह गुणगणं भावयत् सर्वकारी त्युक्त्वा शान्तो गतस्त्वां मम च कुरु विभो तादृशीं चित्तशान्तिम्. चेतो मे दुःख हेतुः तदिह गुणगणं भावयत् सर्वकारी त्युक्त्वा शान्तो गतस्त्वां मम च कुरु विभो तादृशीं चित्तशान्तिम्.
That's it. ऐलः प्राहुर्वशीं प्रत्यति विवशमनाः सेवमानश्चिरं तां गाढं निर्विद्य भूयो युवति सुखमिदं क्षुद्रमेवेति गायन् त्वद्भक्तिं प्राप्य पूर्णः सुखतरमचरत् तद्वदुद्धूतसङ्घं भक्तोत्तं संक्रियामां पवनपुरपते हन्त मे रुन्धिरोगान्. This is another Gita, or Gita means a song, right? So Aila Gita. So there was this king called Pururava, who was a very big king, to the extent that, you know, Urvashi, who was one of the Apsaras in Indra's kingdom, so he actually had Urvashi stay with him for a while, right, in his kingdom. So that's how famous he was. So he had like a contract kind of thing with Urvashi, but Urvashi said, I'll be with you, right, as your wife or whatever, but two conditions. One is Urvashi had some pets, so she says that had to be taken care of. I don't know what that context is, but she had a pet that had to be taken care of. And two is she said we should not see each other naked, right? So in a normal time, other than when you are lovemaking, those are the two conditions that Urvashi had put. So this Pururava was with this Urvashi for a while, and then Indra then felt that he somehow wanted to get Urvashi back. So what he does is he goes and tries to steal the sheep or one of the pet that she had. So when that happens, this person now runs out. The king Pururava is running out, and at that time Indra then strikes a lightning which puts light so people can see what is happening, and everybody sees that this big king is running naked on the streets, right? Because he's trying to save this pet. Because if the pet goes away, Urvashi is gone. So because the lightning comes and it lights up, Urvashi now sees this Pururava naked. So she says, "I'm leaving." So when she leaves, this person, king, runs on the streets naked, trying to beg her to not go, right? And then he comes to the realization, what am I doing, right? He's saying, I'm so attached to this person, to this body of a person, that I'm now gave up all shame that I have. And I'm running on the streets of my kingdom, stark naked, and everybody's looking at me, right? So he then comes to the realization, and then he composes this Aila Gita, which he talks about whether a man or a woman. He says, how if you get attached too much, sensory pleasures, what are the pitfalls of that, and how he went through it, and how he came to the realization. And with that, finally, he then became fully devoted to you, and then he got liberated. So that is this story of Pururava, which is there. And then Bhattaripat says, at the very end, Bhakto Tamsam Kriyamam, so he said, please eliminate any desires and everything I have, and then bestow on me the utmost devotion as well. So I also don't have any ailments here. Cheshi.
Enna Gita idu? Aila Gita.
Aila. Aila. Because he was in the clan of Aila. Up in Aila clan, he was there, very famous king. His name is Pururava. Pururava, R-A-V-A. Pururava, but the Aila is his dynasty. So it's called Aila Gita because it's composed by him.
அதுக்கு முந்தின கீதா ஒன்னு சொன்னேல அது
Bhikshu Gita.
Bhikshu Gita. So Uddhava Gita, Bhikshu Gita, Aila Gita is all Gita.
Yeah, correct. Correct.
ஒரு கீதாவே படிக்க முடியல.
இதெல்லாம் சின்ன சின்ன கீதாஸ். These are all small ones. Bhagavad Gita is a big one. I think that even the Rudra Gita is only like 44 stanzas or something. So these are all like small ones. Ailaha, put a F. Ailaf Pragurvashim Pratyati Vivashamanaha, Sevamanash Chiram Tam, Gadam Nirvidhya Bhuyo Yuvati Sukhamidam, Kshudrameveti Gayan. Ailaf Pragurvashim Pratyati Vivashamanaha Sevamanaschiram Tam Gadham Nirvidya Bhuyo Yuvati Sukhamidam Kshudrameveti Gayan.
Ailaf Pragurvashim Pratyati Vivashamanaha Sevamanaschiram Tam Gadam Nirvidya Bhuyo Yuvati Sukhamidam Kshudrameveti Gayan. I love Pragurvashim Pratyati Vivashamanaha Sevamanaschiram Tam Gadam Nirvidya Bhuyo Yuvati Sukhamidam Kshudrameveti Gayan.
Aila Pragurvashim Pratyati Vivashamanaha Sevamanas-chiram tam Gadam Nirvidya Bhuyo Yuvati Sukhamidam Shudrameveti Gayan.
Shudrameveti.
Kshudrameveti Gayan. Aila Pragurvashim Pratyati Vivashamanaha Sevamanas-chiram tam Gadam Nirvidya Bhuyo Yuvati Sukhamidam Kshudrameveti Gayan.
Tvad bhaktim prapya purnaha, sukha tharam acharat tadvad uddhuta. I'll repeat again. I'm just breaking it. Taram acharat tadvad uddhuta sangham, bhakto tamsam kriyamam, Pavanapurapate hanta me rundhi rogan. त्वद्भक्तिं प्राप्य पूर्णः सुखतरमचरत् तद्वदुद्धूतसङ्घं भक्तोत्तं संक्रियामां पवनपुरपते हन्त मे रुन्धिरोगान्
त्वद्भक्तिं प्राप्य पूर्णः सुखतरमचरत् तद्वदुद्धूतसङ्गं भक्तो तं संक्रियामां पवनपुरपते हन्त मे रुन्धिरोगान् त्वद्भक्तिं प्राप्य पूर्णः सुखतरमचरत् तद्वदुद्धूतसङ्गं भक्तो तं संक्रियामां पवनपुरपते हन्त मे रुन्धिरोगान् श्रीकृष्णाय परब्रह्मणे नमः
त्वद्भक्तिं प्राप्य पूर्णः सुखतरमचरत् तद्वदुद्धूतसङ्गं भक्तो तं संक्रियामां पवनपुरपते हन्त मे रुन्धिरोगान् त्वद्भक्तिं प्राप्य पूर्णः सुखतरमचरत् तद्वदुद्धूतसङ्गं भक्तो तं संक्रियामां पवनपुरपते हन्त मे रुन्धिरोगान् श्रीकृष्णाय परब्रह्मणे नमः
सान्ध्रानन्दावबोधात्मकमनुपमितं कालदेशावधिभ्यां निर्मुक्तं नित्यमुक्तं निगमशतसहस्रेण निर्भास्यमानम् अस्पष्टं दृष्टमात्रे पुनरुरुपुरुषार्थात्मकं ब्रह्मतत्त्वं तत्तावद्भाति साक्षात् गुरुपवनपुरे हन्त भाग्यं जनानां कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियैर्वा बुद्ध्यात्मना वा प्रकृते स्वभावात् करोमि यद्यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणायेति समर्पयामि. Thank you, everybody. So
Thanks, Rajesh.
next class, kind of last 99. So we'll finish 99 in the next class. We just wrap up with, we just chant 100 and wrap it up. And then maybe we can have 1 or 2 class. We can do some review, right? We can pick some chapters and do some review sessions.
Thank you,
Rajesh.
Rajesh.
Okay.
Thank you. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Rajesh.
Bye.